Hi guys, it's Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge. It is Miscellany Monday, and what do we got today? Well, we've got a infrared thermometer from Uni T. This is the UT301C. It's a fairly high-end yet consumer-grade infrared thermometer, and I got mine from GearBest. The reason I got this, you guys might be wondering, for making Kydex sheaths so I can measure the temperature of the Kydex, because you want to get it at a fairly precise temperature before you work it. It has all kinds of other benefits as well, but the main reason I got it is to work with my Kydex. And there's a number of features on this. If you're planning on buying a house anytime soon, getting one of these can really help you when you go to check that house out, especially if you're buying, in wintertime. You can really see if it's got problems with heat loss and stuff all over the place for a very, reasonable cost. And that's just one of the options that you can use it for. There's all kinds of things that you can use these with. I've owned two previous infrared thermometers, and both of them have been garbage. And I got them from Canadian Tire, and that's a chain here in Canada of hardware, auto parts, that kind of stuff store. And they've got their own brand name. And one of their brand name thermometers, they normally sell for around $100 Canadian, although they go on sale for like 20 bucks, like 80% off every 3, 4, 5 months. And if something goes regularly to 80% off, that really tells you something about its actual value, doesn't it? And it ends up being useless garbage. This guy has a whole lot more features, and it's more accurate. And from the build quality and everything, I think this thing's going to last a whole lot longer. So let me tell you about this. Stick around for the review. So here we've got this device. Let's talk about how the thing works first. It works by sending out an infrared ray. And let's take a look at this diagram on here to explain it. And the further away your measuring point is away from the gun, the wider the beam is. And it's a 12-to-1 measurement. The dot is 1 inch around for every foot away that it is away from the gun. 4 feet away, the spot is 4 inches in diameter across. So, of course, the closer you are to what you're measuring, the more pinpoint the measurement's going to be. So if you want something very precise, you're going to have to get close up to it. And within 1 foot seems to be a very good sweet spot for measuring the temperature of just about anything that you're trying to measure, because you're just measuring a dot that's 1 inch wide. How sensitive is this? This thing's from 18 to 500 degrees Celsius. So that's a very wide range. And like I told you, I'm using this for Kydex. I've already got a sheet of Kydex that I've purchased, and I've got some other things. I'm trying to gather everything together that I need. I should let you know that one website that is the best for giving instructions on how to make Kydex sheaths is Goff Custom. He's a Canadian knife maker, and he just explains it very clearly and simply, doesn't waste time, and just goes through all the different steps of what you need to know. And I'm using his instructions to teach myself how to do this. And he says, get one of these guys, and the temperature range that you want to get your Kydex to is 340 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 171 degrees Celsius. So it's well within this range. Most guns like this go up to, like the really cheap ones, I should say, go up to about 200 degrees Celsius, which still fits. But anytime you get close to the maximum end of the range, I find that I really don't want to trust those devices, because there's a greater chance of them being inaccurate at their extreme range ends. And so I like this guy because it's less than halfway into its range, the temperature that I want for Kydex. So there you go. Made by Uni T, which is a company in China. I got mine from GearBest. GearBest sent it to me to review. I asked them for it. If you want to buy it from GearBest, this particular device, you don't need one. You don't need the 301C. You could just get the 300 because it's got a bit of a smaller range and stuff. But this guy, this higher end model, it sells for $25.65 US, which is $34.35 Canadian. I went around the internet and looked around, found a few places where you can buy this. You can buy it in the UK, And in the UK, it's going to cost you 49 pounds. And that's like $62 US. You can buy it in Germany at a couple places. The cheapest place in Germany that I found was for 53 euros, which is like $57 US. So you're looking at about less than half the price to get this thing from GearBest. And since it's a made in China device, I don't think you're going to get ripped off by buying it from GearBest. You just have to wait for it to arrive. Let's talk about the features on this gun. Trigger, you pull the trigger and it starts to measure. It's got an LCD on the back here, and you've got your, let's start from backwards, right to left. This button just turns on the dot. So there you go. You can see the red dot for measuring. It's just a spot. If I press this button, then when I press the trigger, there is no dot. So if for some odd reason you have to measure incognito and you don't want anybody to see the dot, you can turn the dot off or turn it back on just by, pressing that button. Turns the dot on and off. I don't know. I don't need that. I'm going to leave it on all the time because I want to know exactly where it's pointed. This next button is for the backlight for the LCD. So you can have the backlight turned on or the backlight turned off, depending on your lighting conditions. If you have it turned off, of course, the battery is going to last longer because it actually takes a fair bit of the energy just to light up the LCD. You've got a set button. So that's to set the temperature range that you want to go to, and you do your scan, whatever. I've never used that button. I don't need it. So you can set it to off or Celsius. It doesn't really matter. I just leave the set thing off. And you've got a hold button on the side right here. So if you grab your temperature and you press the hold button, it'll hold that temperature. And then you can go through the different modes and, take another temperature, and it'll tell you what the difference is, what's the average between the two, what's the maximum range that you got through, what's the minimum range, all those numbers that very few of us consumers are going to use. Most of us are just going to pull the trigger, find out what the temperature is, and that's what we're going to use. And this thing does that and a whole lot more. And that's what I like about this. What do I use this thing for other than for Kydex? Well, you can measure, like I mentioned in the intro, or even when you've got your own house and you just feel like you're spending too much money on energy to warm your house or to cool your house, you can find out where those leaky spots are. You measure around your window. And in my house, I've got triple pane glass. And so my glass is more thermal resistant than my window frames are. So my frames let more energy in and out of the house than the glass itself does. That's always good to know. But you can measure right around the frame of your window to see if you're leaking energy there, if they put in proper insulation. Measure the transition zone between your ceiling and your walls. See what you're losing or gaining there. You can check your ceiling and see if you've got proper insulation all over on your ceiling. If you go and check like about 6 spots in each room, you'll be able to find out if there's one room or one area of your ceiling where your attic does not have adequate insulation. There's all kinds of ways for a homeowner to use this for measuring those kinds of things. The long name is Uni-Trend. You can look up their website. You can tell that they are a quality company that make quality devices. This guy just happens to have the Chinese label on it because it's made for the Chinese market. So that's my review. Thanks so much for watching, for liking, for subscribing, and share this with somebody else who you think might be looking for something like this. And remember, if you've got a knife, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.